So the rules of indices, there are a number of these that we have to learn, and quite often they're just shortcuts to remember. So this first question, the rule for multiplying indices. Now 5 cubed means 5 times 5 times 5. 5 to the power 4 means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 4 of them. Now if we were to remove these brackets, how many 5s have we actually got in a row? We have got 7 of them. So the answer is 5 to the power 7. And what is a much easier way to do this? Well, simply the rule that we need to remember is we simply add the powers. 3 add 4 equals 7. Rule number 2, the dividing rule. So we've got 8 to the power 4 divided by 8. Now you think of that as 8 to the power 1. Now if I write this out as 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, and if I write this as a fraction, on the bottom we have divided by 8. What we can do is we can cancel one pair of the 8s, because 8 divided by 8 is just 1, and what we're left with is we are left with 8 times 8 times 8, which is just 8 cubed. So the rule for dividing indices is we simply look at the two powers and we do first power take away second power. 4 take away 1 is 3. Rule number 3, raising a power. So if we have 10 cubed and we have to square that, well, squaring means you multiply something by itself, so that's really 10 cubed times 10 cubed. Now if we use rule number 1, which is multiplying the powers, well, the rule is we add them, so 3 add 3 is 10 to the power 6. So what have we really done with this 2 and the 3? Well, the rule from when we raise a power to a second power is we times them or multiply them. Now rule 4, the power 0. Now anything with a 0 as a power is just evaluated to 1. Rule 5, negative indices. Now we know that if we use rule number 2, the subtract rule, and we do 3 take away 5, it gives us 5 to the power minus 2. But what is that really? Well, if I write this division out long ways, we'll have 3 number 5s on top and we'll have 5 number 5s on the bottom. So I can start cancelling. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 5 divided by 5 is another number 1, 5 divided by 5 is another number 1. Now on the top there, if we got those ones multiplied, that gives us 1. And on the bottom, we have a 5 times 5 times 1. So 5 times 5 is 5 squared. So what we say is, if we have a negative power, we rewrite it as 1 over the positive power. So 5 to the power minus 2 just simply becomes 1 over 5 squared. But these questions often say, write the number as a fraction. So to simplify that fraction, 5 squared is 25. So I would need to do that extra step. Now, fractional indices. If we have fractional indices with a numerator of 1, so what we have here is 1/2 just simply means the square root of 25. So that's 5. But if we have 1/3, that is the cube root of 27. So we are looking for a number that multiplies by itself 3 times to give us 27, and that is 3. And if we have another example here, the 4th root is what matches with a quarter. So a number multiplied by itself 4 times to give me 16, well, that is the number 2. And then what we've got is, if we have a numerator that isn't 1, sorry, what we have to do then is we have to do the following. If I have 100 to the power 3 over 2, we have to first of all use the bottom number as our root. So that means it's the square root of 100, and then we're going to cube it. So the square root of 100 is 10, and then we're going to cube it, so 10 cubed is 1000. Now this is about as bad as it can get, really. We've got a negative and a horrible fraction. So the negative would mean we would rewrite it as 1 over the positive, and then the power 2/3 means I'm looking for the cube root of 27, but then I have to take the top number of that fraction and square it. So the cube root of 27 is 3, and then we're going to square that. So 3 squared being 9, so that is the answer to that question.